Dear students, today we are going to discuss about social justice approach to the public administration. This is going to be in two parts. Number one, social justice approach in India, contribution of Jyotirao Phule. The second is social justice in India, the contribution of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now, we are going to discuss what is social justice and particularly how to understand the concept of social justice in India. The concept of social justice is universal in nature and applies equally to the developed and developing world. However, the concept is not defined in any dictionary, but the online dictionary Merriam-Webster defines justice as the maintenance or administration of what is just, the administration of the law, the establishment or determination of rights according to the rules of law or equity, the quality of being just, impartial or fair, the principle or ideal of just dealing or right action. As such, social justice is a basic value and desired goal in democratic societies and includes equitable and fair access to societal institutions, laws, resources, and also opportunities without arbitrary limitations based on observed or interpretation of differences in age, color, culture, physical or mental disability, education, gender, income, language, national origin, race, religion or sexual orientation. People in positions of power and privilege may disregard those who are less powerful. This may be due to ignorance, lack of awareness or simply not being concerned about the lives of people who are powerless. These types of actions frequently contribute to a continuation of unfair treatment and inequity in services, resulting in continued oppression and personal behaviors and decisions that support and cultivate discrimination and unequal institutional policies and practices. The perpetuation of the power differential is underscored by the fact that many of those in the power have the information, knowledge and skills to access resources and peers who have the ability to influence policies and funding priorities that could promote greater equity, equal opportunities and fairness. This is particularly the case in India, where opportunities and fairness to access to government services including health and education are denied to marginal sections of the society. Rights have to be won through constant struggles from the perspective of human rights. Over a period, many communities have been given reservation in education and employment for which they waged relentless struggles. The foremost among social crusaders is Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, who fought for the educational rights of women, including those from the upper caste. Social justice as a universal concept, the rise in inequality in the distribution of income among people is well documented and displays the characteristics of a trend having affected large numbers of countries, from the poorest to the most affluent during the past 2 decades. Up to the 1980s, at least since the Second World War and in some cases since the beginning of the 20th century, there had been a general narrowing of differences in the income available to individuals and families. Income related inequalities, notably in the ownership of capital and other assets, in access to a variety of services and benefits, and in the personal security that money can buy, are growing. There is also greater inequality in the distribution of opportunities for remunerated employment, with worsening unemployment and underemployment in various parts of the world, affecting a disproportionate number of people at the lower end of the socio-economic scale. This inequality gap between the richest and poorest countries, measured in terms of national per capita income, is growing as well. The notion of social justice is relatively new. None of history and its great philosophers saw the need to consider justice or the redress of injustices from a social perspective. The concept first surfaced in Western thought and political language in the wake of the Industrial Revolution and the parallel development of the socialist doctrine. It emerged as an expression of a protest against what was perceived as the capitalist exploitation of labor as a focal point for the development measures to improve the human condition. It was born as a revolutionary slogan, embodying the ideals of progress and fraternity. Following the revolutions that shook the Europe in the mid-1800s, social justice became a rallying cry for progressive thinkers and political activists. Proudhon notably identified justice with the social justice and social justice with the respect of human dignity. By the mid of 20th century, the concept of social justice had become central to the ideologies and programs of virtually all the leftist and centrist political parties around the world, and few dared to oppose it directly. Social justice represented the essence and the raison of the social democratic doctrine and left its mark in the decades following the Second World War. Of particular importance in the present context is the link between the growing legitimization of the concept of social justice on the one hand and the emergence of the social sciences as a distinct areas of activity and the creation of economics and sociology as disciplines separate from philosophy, notably from the moral philosophy on the other hand. Social justice became more clearly defined when a distinction was drawn between the social sphere and the economic sphere, and grew into a mainstream preoccupation when a number of economists became convinced that it was their duty not only to describe phenomena, but also the proposed criteria for the distribution of the fruits of human activity. The application of social justice requires a geographical, sociological, political and cultural framework within which relations between individuals and groups can be understood and assessed and characterized as just or unjust. Present times, this framework has been the nation state. The country typically represents the context in which various aspects of social justice, such as the distribution of income in a population, are observed and measured. The benchmark is used not only by national governments, but also by international organizations and supranational entities such as World Bank. At the same time, there is clearly a universal dimension to social justice with humanity as the common factor. Distributive justice came to acquire greater priority for many of the governments. The concept of social justice consists of diverse principles essential for the orderly growth and the development of personality of every citizen. Social justice is thus an integral part of justice in the generic sense. Social justice is a dynamic device to mitigate the sufferings of the poor, weak, tribals and deprived sections of the society and to elevate them to the level of equality to live a life with the dignity of persons. The aim of social justice is to attain substantial degree of social, economic and political equality, which is a legitimate expectation and constitutional goal. In a developing society like ours, stepped with unbridgeable and ever widening gaps of inequality in status and of opportunity, law is a catalyst, rub icon to poor etc. to reach the ladder of social justice. The constitutional law, concern of social justice as an elastic, continuous process is to accord justice to all sections of the society by providing facilities and opportunities to remove the handicaps and disabilities with which the poor are languishing and to secure dignity of the persons. The Constitution therefore mandates the state to accord justice to all members of the society in all facets of the human activity. The concept of social justice embeds equality to flavor and enliven the practical content of life. Social justice in its broader sense is used to include economic justice, political and social justice. Provision of equal opportunities to all citizens and removal of social and economic disparities fall within the purview of the social justice. Not only this, it also includes political justice. The basic norm which governs the concept of social justice is that of not discrimination are that of equality among human beings regardless of race, religion, caste, color, sex, etc. Thus, there has to be no discrimination among the citizens. Some early thoughts on social justice. The term social justice was first used in 1840 by a Sicilian priest, Luigi Taparelli d'Asiligo, and given prominence by Antonio Rosmini Serbati in La Constitution Civili Secondo la Giustizia Sociali in 1848. A theory of justice has used it as a pseudonym of distributive justice. The concept of social justice is a revolutionary concept which provides meaning and significance to life and makes the rule of law dynamic. When Indian society seeks to meet the challenge of socio-economic inequality by its legislation and with the assistance of the rule of law, it seeks to achieve economic justice without any violent conflict. The ideal of a welfare state postulates unceasing pursuit of the doctrine of social justice. According to Aristotle, justice is of two types. They are 1. Distributive justice and 2. Corrective or remedial justice. Aristotle said that justice implies a certain degree of equity. This equality might, however, be either arithmetical or geometrical, the first based on identity and the second on proportionality and equivalence. Arithmetical equality leads to communicative justice, geometrical equality to distributive justice, to each according to the deserts. The second is the business of the legislator, while the first is the business of the judge. Political rights and goods should be apportioned according to the distributive justice. Punishment should be imposed on damages paid according to the communicative justice. The theory of justice thus involves an examination of the body of rights and duties accepted in the society in the light of the formal principles of equality, the aim being to rid of arbitrary elements, that is discrimination not grounded on relevant differences. According to Saint Thomas Aquinas, justice is habit, whereby a man renders to each one his due with a constant and perpetual will. According to Kelson, justice is societal happiness. It is happiness guaranteed by a social order. He further explains the happiness that a social order is able to assure cannot be happiness in a subjective individual sense. It must be happiness in an objective collective sense, that is to say, by happiness we must understand the satisfaction of certain needs. Recognized by the social authority, the lawgiver, as needs worthy of being satisfied, such as the need to be fed, clothed, housed and the like. Austin viewed the concept of justice was the more concerned with the legal justice as a standard measured in terms of positive law, in contrast to moral justice or individual justice. The concepts which were widely prevalent in the earlier stages of the development of the society. Dean Rospond is another philosopher, set new vistas in the sphere of justice. According to him, theory of justice, the law is a means to balance the competing interest of an individual along with the larger interest of the society. Harold Lasky, thinker of the 20th century, regard law as a means of realizing social justice, the striking of balance between the competing interests and values. J.S. Mill remarks, justice implies something which is not wholly right to do and wrong not to do, but which some individual person can claim from us is moral right. This man, noted American philosopher John Rawls, called justice as fairness. Rawls first set up our justice as fairness in systematic detail in his 1971 book, A Theory of Justice. Rawls continued to rework justice as fairness throughout his life, restating the theory in Political Liberalism 1993, The Law of People 1999 and Justice as Fairness in 2001. Rawls sees political philosophy as fulfilling at least 4 roles in a society's public life. By Rawls' criteria, libertarian conception of justice such as Nozick's in anarchy, state and utopia, is not a liberal conception of justice. Libertarianism does not assure all citizens sufficient means to make use of their basic liberties, and it permits excessive inequalities of wealth and power. By contrast, Rawls' own conception of justice, justice as fairness, does qualify as a member of the family of liberal political conception of justice. And Jyotiba Phule's struggle for social justice. Jyotirao Phule was born in Pune in 1827 to Govindarao Phule and Chimnabai. These people are maintaining a flower merchant business. His father was a flower merchant. This family, known as Gorhe, came from Kotgan village in the Satara district of Maharashtra. When Jyotirao was hardly 1 year old, his mother passed away. His grandfather, Shetiba Gore, settled down in Pune. Since Jyotirao's father and two uncles, Ranjoti and Krishna, supplied flowers, various articles made from flowers to the Peshwas, they gifted them 35 acres of land. Then onwards, they were known as Phules. Jyotirao was sent to the local Marathi school, then after joined Scottish Mission School for his further education. While he was studying in the Scottish Mission School, his education was stopped in 1833 on the advice of an employee belongs to Brahmin caste working under Govindarao Phule, saying that education was useless to non-Brahmins. By the time of 1830s, the atmosphere of Pune city was the suspicious and jealous was spread over among the Brahmins and non-Brahmins each other. After discontinuation of education, Jyotirao Phule helped to his father by working on the family farm. During this time, Jyotirao's marriage was celebrated with Savitri Bai when he was not even 13 years. His neighbors, who was a Muslim teacher, that is Gafarbag Munshi, and another Christian gentleman named as Lazith, were influenced with the knowledge and intelligence of Jyotirao. So, they persuaded his father Govindarao to allow him to study in a secondary school. In 1841, Jyotirao again got admission in the Scottish Mission School at Pune. After readmission in the same school, he met Sadashiv Balal Govind, a Brahmin, who were very close friends throughout the life. Both Jyotirao and Govind were greatly influenced by the Thomas Paine ideas, and they read the rights of a man with a great interest. Missionary teaching of equality and universal brotherhood of mankind on the one hand, and the most human and cruel discrimination based upon caste distinction in the Hindu society on the other, led Phule for a self-thinking. After thorough study of the rights of a man, written by the Thomas Paine, in 1848, Phule was very much attracted and influenced towards the emphasis of Thomas Paine on oneness of God and equality among the man. Phule, in his book, that is Sarvajanik Satya Dharma, insisted that the religious ideology of Hindu Dharma nowhere found that oneness of a God and equality among the man. At the same time, he wrote very critically about the priests of the Indian society, who was a middleman between the man and the God in the Hindu ideology. Phule was experiencing in the social reality characterized by the untouchability, denial of certain social and cultural rights to the Shudras, corrupt religious practices, degradation of women. In 1848, he was invited to the marriage of a Brahmin friend. In the process, he was recognized by some orthodox and arrogant Brahmin as a Mali and a Shudra and ordered him to quit. He was ridiculed and insulted matter regarding to his own. Then he immediately boycotted the marriage procession and returned to home and revealed the entire incident to his father Govindarao. Phule became restless. He wanted to know the roots of the caste discrimination and the inhuman institution of the untouchability. He started reading extensively the Hindu scriptures, the Vedas, the Manusmriti, Puranas, etc. In addition, he read the literature of the medieval saints of the Bhakti cult like Tukaram Gatha, Daineshwari and other texts of the Bhagavat sect. He also read the writings and the literature by such reformers as Gautama Buddha, Saint Basaveshwara and other Tirthankaras. In 1848, Phule and his student colleagues turned to the reform of traditional Hindu society as the most important single issue for the socially concerned people. Education of women and the lower caste, he believed, deserved the priority. He was convinced that both the women and the Shudras from the Hindu community should avail themselves of a modern education. At the time, even the Brahmins were opposed to educating their women. He decided to open a school for girls belonging to the low and untouchable caste in Pune. He persuaded his wife Savitri Bai to get educated. She did so and later started a school for girls belonging to the lower caste. In August 1848, at Bidewada, it was the first school opened by a Shudra for Shudra girls. It was the first of its kind in India. On 3rd July 1851, Jyotirao started a girls' school in Anna Chuplankar's mansion house at Budhavarpet, where Phule taught for 4 hours daily without taking any salary. Towards service for the cause of education, Phule was publicly honored by Major Thomas Kande, principal of the Pune College, presenting him of the traditional pair of the shawls on behalf of the Bombay government. In 1853, Phule formed a society for increasing education among Mahars, monks and others. His close friend and colleague Sadasiva Govind was made of the president, while Valvekar and Shakram Yashwant Paranje were appointed secretary and treasurer respectively, and Phule also the member of the committee. The society established 2 schools for untouchables and arranged lectures to be given to the Mahars and the monks of the Pune, explaining the benefits of education in these schools. Satyashodak Samaj. By establishing the Satyashodak Samaj in 1873, he gave organizational structure to his movement. His ideology is found in the following works like Gulamgiri, Rayat Swipcard, Jati Bhed, Vivek Sar, Brahmanecha Kasab, Satsar, part 1 and 2, etc., has created mass-scale awakening among the Shudras and Adishudras, non-Brahmins. He opened schools to women, Shudra and untouchable communities in Pune and elsewhere, even launched a movement against widow practice and opened widow rehabilitation centers, that is ashrams. He also fought to safeguard the interest of the poor peasants and landless laborers. His movement was spread to entire Western India and Bombay Presidency, which included the Bombay and Karnataka also. After founding educational institutions, Jyotiba Phule turned his attention to the social reforms by striking at age-old social traditions. Earlier, Ram Mohan Rai had fought against the practice of sati in Bengal, which was subsequently abolished in 1829. The issue of widow remarriage was extremely sensitive, and Jyotirao was deeply moved by the plight of Hindu widows. In 1864, he got a widower of the Shenvi caste remarried. He founded an anti-abortion center where widows could deliver their babies and have them cared for. This was the first institution of its kind. It saved the widows from the loneliness and from the killing of their infants. In 1872, he wrote the book Gulamgiri, that is a slavery. In the first part of the book, he invoked Parshuram because the latter is considered to have lived for 432 million years, as stated by the Brahmin scriptures. He published 2 manifestos under the title Brahmani Dharmacharya Adapadavat, behind the screen of Brahminical religion. In them, he asserted the ideals proclaimed by the French Revolution for freedom, equality and fraternity. Inspired by Abraham Lincoln, the champion of the human freedom, who had abolished slavery in America in 1863, Jyotiba Phule dedicated his book to the black population of America. After he finished writing the Gulamgiri, Jyotiba Phule prepared himself to launch a mass movement. Even before the book was completed, he had expressed his views in public meetings and through pamphlets and booklets. To carry forward his crusade, Jyotiba Phule founded the Satyashodak Samaj, the first social reform movement in Maharashtra. He was the first president and treasurer of the Samaj. N.G. Kadlag was the secretary. The goal of the Samaj was to make the Shudras and Atishudras aware of their civil rights and free them from religious and emotional slavery imposed by the Brahminical sculptures. To become a member of the Samaj, one had to take an oath before the deity, Khande Rao, by picking up a bell leaf and swearing loyalty to the British government. In 1911, the Satyasodak Samaj published its resolutions comprising 3 guiding principles. A. All human beings are children of one God, hence they are my brothers and sisters. B. Just as one does not need a mediator to meet one's mother or to please one's father, similarly, one does not need a priest of a guru to pray to a god. I do not feel the need for a mediator when I worship, pray or mediate. I shall exhort others to believe likewise. C. I shall educate my sons and daughters. I make this resolution with God as my witness. Membership of the Samaj was open to all castes. Brahmins, Mahars, Manks and others were members of the Samaj. Wherever branches of the Samaj are open, meetings were held every week. In Somwarpet in Pune, meetings were held at the residence of the Dr. Govind. Compulsory education, use of indigenous goods, conduction of ceremonies without Brahmin priests, performing weddings at minimum cost, freeing people from the clutches of the fortune tellers, soothsayers, spirits, that is of the Brahmins and ghosts, etc. Emphasis was laid on fatherhood of God and brotherhood of man. Like the Prardhana Samaj and the Brahmo Samaj, the Satyasodak Samaj was also a monotheistic sect. All the 3 institutions believed that the human beings were children of one God and held assembly prayers and meetings every week. On 28th of November 1890, the great reformer of India, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, passed away. The idea of social justice continues to guide many a struggle the world over in India is not immune from it. The concept of social distributive justice is implied in various academic and theoretical works and in many international legal and quasi-legal texts such as the charters and the universal declarations that many only include broad references to justice. Social justice implies justice in economic, social and political domains.